Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope that you're having an awesome day. I am Zach Lentz, joined as always by Jason Priester, and you're tuned in to PAW Talk. So, first things first, Jason, 30 days out.
Yeah, that's about, if you're a Clemson fan, that's the biggest thing to look forward to right now.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Especially coming off of that basketball game last night. You're counting down the days to opening day.
Yes, sir. And if people don't know what we are talking about, it's 30 days until the Tigers take the field again. So, yeah, let's take a couple of seconds here and just talk about the expectations on this team. Yeah, as Eric Rakic enters his second season, guess, what are your expectations for this Tiger team, who hasn't advanced out of the regionals in, it seems like, half a century?
That team in Bakic's first year, a season ago, totally surpassed my expectations. They could have easily got out of that regional. That just a heck of a game there against Tennessee, and we all know what happened there. But going into year two, these guys are more acclimated. They know what to expect. The Bakic and the rest of that coaching staff. But to me, for the big thing is the pitchers have been under Jimmy Ballinger for a year now. And I think we're going to see some of those guys, take a big step in their development. I think that's something that was lacking under the last coaching staff. Guys like Austin Gordon and Billy Barlow, now that he's healthy. There's some young guys on that staff. There's one freshman in particular I think could have an impact this year. The Knack kid, or Knack, or however you say his last name. But it's all about the pitching. That's where it starts and stops for me. I love what they did in the portal, bolstered that infield. I think Blake Wright's going to move to second. They got, transfer at shortstop. They got a young guy that can play shortstop too. Brought in Jimmy Overtop to bolster the middle of the lineup, provide some pop. He can play first base, catch for you, DH. But I fully expect this to be a tournament team, man, and I don't think it's out of the realm of. I don't think it's expecting too much to maybe expect them to get out of the regional round and into the super regional round this year. I think there's enough talent on this team. Again, they've played under this coaching staff for a year now. They know what to expect, and that they're a little more dialed into the process. I love what he's got with this team, and I have pretty high expectations for him this year.
Yeah, I think everyone has those expectations. Even the stitching on the back of the hat, still says Omaha. And so, Eric Rakic, has made no, changes to that. He said the standard is the standard, and that is to be competing for national titles. So, I think you're right. Last year's team, that Tennessee game, was basically a coin flip. The Tigers had their opportunities to win that game, and Tennessee ultimately took advantage. But, I think the expectations heading into this year have to be to get out of the regional round and at least advance to supers, where you know when you face a team in a 2 out of 3 series, anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely anything can happen. And again, if you can get that pitching dialed in, you know, that only bolsters your chances. And I think Clemson's got one of the best pitching coaches in the country, and Jimmy Ballinger. And I think he's going to bring out the best in a lot of those guys. They used a lot of young guys, you know, on the mound last year. Guys like Ethan Darden and Joe Allen. Um, and again, Barlow was out all season. He'll be back. They've got a lot to work with from a pitching perspective. I always thought, even going back to the minor league years, that Clemson had plenty of arm talent. It just never got developed. It just
Hmm.
had what they had. Those guys never took big jumps. They kind of just always stayed where they were, never really progressed. And I think we're fixing to see that change, and we're going to start seeing that this year.
Yeah, I think that there is a reason that the Tigers are ranked 10th, by D1 baseball. I think that they recognize this is an incredibly talented team that has really everything you could ask for in looking at teams that can possibly make it to Omaha.
Yeah, I remember a conversation I had with Aaron Fitt at the ACC tournament last year, and he seemed like he was going to have high expectations for this Clemson team in year two. I don't. Again, I think it's fair to say, hey, we want to see at least a run to the Super Regional. It's been long enough. There's some talent on this team. There's some talent in arms. You've got the right coaches in the right places. It seems like. I think this team's primed to make a run and bring some, once again, bring some excitement back to Doug Kingsmore. It'd been a while since we saw the level of excitement that we saw there over the back half of last season. And I think we got more to look forward to in that regard this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's see here. John apparently wants us to talk some basketball. So let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about this Tiger team who lost to Georgia Tech in double OT last night, fell to 2-4 in the ACC. The Tigers were again just abysmal from behind the arc. They were 3 for 21. And honestly, that is not going to get done in the ACC. So my question for you is this just, a little hiccup or a, you know, bump in the road for this team, or are we seeing who they are?
I'm not sure it's just a bump in the road. I think teams have kind of started figuring out a way to defend this team, and if you can clamp down on Joe Girard and make him uncomfortable and get him a little frustrated, your chances of beating this Clemson team go up exponentially because they don't have anybody else that's going to beat you from the outside.
No,
Chase
Alex
Hunter,
Hemingway, being injured still throughout the season, I think has been a huge blow to this team.
yeah, it doesn't get talked about at all, but it's definitely had an impact because Chase Hunter, he at best he's a streaky guy from the perimeter, and he is ice cold right now. Brownell even went with 3 guards last night to try to help that defense, which I thought the defense played well for the first 35 minutes of the game, and then the last 5 minutes it was just kind of abysmal. And Chase Hunter gets lost on a screen, loses his guy on that last shot. The terrible foul by PJ Hall on the 3-pointer. Just some complete breakdowns after having played pretty well defensively for the most part through the first 30, 35 minutes. man, it just went all wrong on those guys in a hurry, and it's not something you've not seen before if you've been watching Clemson basketball for the past 15, 20 years. You kind of almost anticipated to come at some point. It was just, man, it was hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Michael Gibson says he stay up late to watch it. Yeah. Right. I watched it.
Still bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game last night was just it was absolutely brutal. And on top of the defensive lapses, man, you got guys that routinely make their free throws, missing free throw shots. I think they were 75% from the free throw line. Chase Hunter misses one that would have iced it in regulation. I mean, he's a 90% free throw shooter, and he misses the one he misses all night long is the one that would have iced it. I mean, it's it's hard to. It's not just one thing, man. The perimeter defense has not been very good. Scoring from the perimeter has not been very good over the past 4 or 5 games. I mean, it's starting to have a snowball effect.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think that this team is starting just to show us who they are. They, are able to sneak up on some teams in the non-conference and the ACC. I mean, these are teams that you play year in, year out. They're familiar with you, that know what you like to do. And honestly, you have to, be able to actually, play solid basketball for all 40 minutes. And that's something that the Tigers have yet to do. So, I mean, if you're a Clemson fan, you can't be happy with the play that you're seeing out of this team. I mean, I hate to say it, but last night's game is the kind of game where if you're not careful, it could derail your entire season.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the first time they'd lost to a quad 3, quad 4 team all year long. They'd been pretty good against teams they were supposed to beat. And I think Georgia Tech's probably a little bit better than their record indicates, but that's a game you have to win at home. You're up by 9 with a minute 34 left to play in the game.
Yeah.
You got to win that game, period. There's just no ifs, ands, buts about it. And again, it's not just one thing that's costing them. It's a number of things. Defensive breakdowns late in the game. You can't hit anything from beyond the arc. The perimeter defense has been spotty at best. Since ACC. Then it got in the heart of ACC play, and then last night you can't hit the free throws when you need them. I mean, they did. They dominated the points in the paint. PJ Hall, he and Schieffelin kind of had their way with those guys. They played inside out. Got a career high from PJ, another big game from Schieffelin, and you still don't win. You still don't win.
Yeah, and so, James Gibson says back to the NIT. Honestly, right now, the way that this team is playing, not sure you ain't getting there.
And you got a road game at Florida State this weekend where you've not played particularly well in the past. It's kind of been a house of horrors for you. And then you're off to Duke. So you got back-to-back road games. You are staring 2-6 in the face in league play.
Oh, yeah.
2-6.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this team is like they I guess the easiest way to say is they had everyone fooled, including the pollsters who 2 weeks ago this was a number 11 ranked team, and they are staring at a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Well, now you're unranked and you're a 7 seed. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
go ahead.
something has to change. And it needs to change quick because, like you said, they have 2 games in 2 locations that have not been kind to them. So they are going to have their work cut out for them.
They dropped 12 spots in the net rankings. All the way, or I think it was. I think they dropped all the way to 30. This way, I got to pull it up right here. 36. So they dropped 8 spots. They were 28th, I think. They dropped to 36. So 8 spots in the net rankings. Man, those quad 3 and quad 4 losses are brutal when you lose them at
Yeah.
home. That's
Yeah, those are the
the
ones
losses
that
that set
hard.
them back last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say those losses that you can't have if you're trying to build a resume. I mean, the thing is, here a few weeks ago, we were sitting here talking, about is this the team that can finally, uh, win the ACC tournament? And if this isn't that team, when will it be? The
I thought
thing is,
was capable of making a run. It looks like I'm being proven wrong, man. They just it's. I would have never guessed that this team would struggle as mightily as they have from shooting 3 pointers over this long of a stretch of time. You're bound to go cold from time to time, but man, this thing is stretched out now over about 5 games, and that's exactly what you brought Joe Girard in for. He's a liability on the defensive end. You brought him in for his 3-point prowess, and you're not even getting that right now. I mean, Georgia Tech absolutely locked him down last night. He couldn't even breathe hardly. The few open shots he did have, he'd only hit a couple of them. I mean, and it looks like it looks like it's taking a toll on him. He talked about it the other night how he's a sore loser. He doesn't like to lose. He probably hasn't been easy to be around. He kind of looks that way. He looks like he's
yeah, he
affecting
looks,
his play. Yeah,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
can look at his body language and tell, man, it affects him. If you can shut him down and rattle him, it affects him. It affects his play. It affects how he plays. And I think that thing kind of trickles down sometimes to everybody else.
yeah. I agree 1,000%. To me, Joe Girard, he trying to think of the nice way to say this because he is an outstanding player and someone that is needed on this team. But to me, sometimes his attitude and kind of his demeanor on the court, like you said, the you can feel the negative energy coming off him, and so if he were wearing, let's say, a Duke jersey or something like that, you would say, "Oh, that's fitting," because that's just the way they are. But yeah, it's just very noticeable to see the way he carries himself and how it affects his play.
Yeah, I agree. I've watched him intently in pregame warmups before the Boston College game the other day. Very few people talked to him. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he was, you know, not sociable at all and not talking to anybody, but there wasn't a lot of interaction with him pregame, and maybe that's normal because it's only the only time it's the only time I paid that much attention to him, and it was because of what he said after the previous loss about being a sore loser and him being hard to be around, and so I just kind of focused on him and his pregame routine. And even when they huddled up and stuff, he wasn't inside the huddle. He was on the outside of it, kind of all alone, um, just with his hand over the back of everybody else. He kind of it almost feels like he's a little bit of a loner. And I think when he doesn't play well, he gets frustrated and it affects his play. It affects his, not just his production, but the way he plays. He just looks like a different guy.
Yeah, I mean, let's see here. Chris gets in and says, lots of games left. Let's go. There are a lot of games left, but the thing is, this schedule is not kind to the Tigers. When you look at the games they have coming up. So, yeah, that can be seen as a positive, but it can also be a negative.
Yeah, again, you got to go on the road this weekend to Tallahassee, a Florida State team that's been playing better here the last week or two. Got off to an atrocious start, but they've been playing better. But again, a place you've not performed particularly well over the years. Then you got to go to Duke. Then you come back home for Louisville, and Virginia pays you a visit after that. Then it's right back out on the road to North Carolina and Syracuse. I mean, it doesn't really let up. It's not any easier.
Then you bring in Miami, who you lost to down there, and then you have NC State. Then you travel to Georgia Tech. I mean, honestly, it's a schedule that's not kind to the Tigers, especially when you think about how they are playing right now and how they are playing.
Yeah, I think this. I think this next game is going to be critical, man. I think Brad Brownell's got a big job on his hands to keep this thing from snowballing even more than it has already. You've got to find some way, somehow. I thought the Boston College game kind of felt like a must win, and they went out and won it. Even against the undermanned team, they beat them. I disagree that they barely beat a depleted BC team. They rolled in the second half. They were up by 19 a couple of times. They beat them easily. The final score was not indicative of how easily they won that game. But now that after you win that game, you turn around and lose one you should have won against Georgia Tech. Now it also feels like this Florida State one's a must win, man. You got to have that one. You got to go on the road and get it. You got to find some way, somehow come out of Tallahassee with a win. Because then you're staring another 3-game losing streak in the face. And that is not the recipe for getting an invite. And I think Brownell's got it. I think this team's got to make the tournament this year. I mean, I think we can all probably agree with that. I think it's a bust.
Yeah, I think he knows that. I think that's the reason that you're seeing his, he is so emotional on the sideline this year, more than he has in previous years. He is wearing almost every possession on his sleeve. Thing, is this team honestly is just not playing very smart. I mean, like, when PJ Hall is taking your game tying attempts at threes or game winning attempts, that is not the player that I want shooting those shots. I mean, so this team, honestly, Ryle has always had issues with getting the ball inbounded. His teams, has been a running joke that they are just a turnover waiting to happen if they have to inbound the ball. And so, that stuff is stuff where it looks like, he is just over there on the sideline trying to draw something up, and like they haven't, practiced it or gone through the reps, to know, okay, this is how we are going to get our best shooter the look.
I didn't have that. I'm probably in the minority here, but I didn't have that big of a problem with the final play and PJ taking the shot. I thought it was a little deeper probably than they drew it up. He's pretty good from that spot on the floor. Joe Girard's ice cold. Chase Hunter ain't hit a three in a month, feels like. So I didn't really have that big of a problem with PJ taking the shot, particularly
Yeah,
because he's not a bad shooter from that spot on the floor.
honestly, give me Chauncey Williams over him.
Um, you know, but I do agree with not playing smart. You can't fight. PJ can't make that foul on that 3-point shot. Um, you can make the argument that they should have fouled on the final play
Yeah,
of regulation. You know, I kind of see both sides of it with 12 seconds left. Because if you fouled out early, you're going to the line, and I mean they're still going to have another opportunity. So I kind of see both sides of that, but it is probably the way I would have leaned. I'm probably fouling right there. Um,
oh yeah,
I just don't think they're playing smart basketball overall. I'm with you on that. Too many lapses on the defensive end. I mean, Chase Hunter just lost his. Excuse me, Dylan Hunter just lost his man on that last shot of regulation. Just lost him. That's something that can't happen in the most critical part of the game.
yeah. Hard time gets into what's the story behind the video of Brown pushing on his players the other day. Actually, this was something that I hadn't seen until someone showed it on X, and that was really a shocking thing to see. So, your thoughts on, you know, I think it was just emotion, and should a coach ever touch a player? Probably not. But you know what? In today's culture, people are going to, latch on to something like that and say, "Oh, he should be fired. He lost his cool and stuff." I didn't see it as anything other than he was trying to get Gerard's attention and get him into the spot that he wanted.
Yeah, this goes back to the body language thing we've been talking about with Gerard. I thought Gerard's body language at that specific moment looked terrible. He was not in the spot he was supposed to be in, and Brownell was trying to get him to the spot. I mean, I get it. I get the argument of not laying hands on players during the game, but that's what I thought it was. Brownell trying to get him in the spot that he needed to be in because he was moving the opposite way of the direction Brownell wanted him to go.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually trying to find the clip here so that we can show it. Let me see. Actually, I sent it to you. So,
I know that was the first time I had saw it too when you sent it to me.
here we go. All
I was
right.
at that game and didn't even see it.
All right. Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think we were both at that game and we both didn't see it.
Uh huh. All right. Let's see. So this is the play that he is mentioning. So let's. I mean, do you see anything there that like is something that warrants an outrage or anything?
No, I just think it's him trying to direct the guy in the right spot um, in a game where they were not playing particularly well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Oh, actually, that's the Virginia Tech game. We were not at that
yeah,
one. I was thinking that was at the home game from the Saturday. We were both there. Oops.
oh yeah, yeah, I yeah. I mean, honestly, it looks like Gerard should have flopped there and taken the foul.
Would he have hit the free throws?
Oh,
Heck, I think even he missed a free throw last night, didn't he?
yes, he did. So, yeah, anytime your team is struggling the way the tires are right now, you're going to see every little thing and, try to, figure out, what's going on and stuff. And so I think if the tires, are sitting here at 15-1 or 16-1, people would say, I love it. He's just fired up. He is, see him, he's out there coaching so hard. And, it's the fact that, this team is struggling right now. And that's the reason that everyone jumps on this stuff. I mean, it's the exact same thing that you see out of DABO when, the uh, he gets on the players, he's yelling at them on the sideline. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, yeah,
If they're not mired in a 3-game streak at that time, yeah, there's not probably not the outrage over that thing that there was that day or that video came out. That was the third loss in the 3-game losing streak. I I just don't see it as that big of a deal. That's just me. I grew up
yeah,
in a different era than some
yeah,
of the other folks
yeah.
did.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I took
some
some
of
heat
these
from coaches over
parents
the years.
today, yeah,
Took some heat from some coaches over the years. So I mean, I just I grew up in a different era, man, and I just think he was trying to direct him into the spot he wanted him to be, and I don't think he was shoving him. I don't think he was doing what Nate Oates did last night. I mean,
no,
shoving the opposing player. But um, there's always going to be those that make it out to be probably more than what it is, and Brownell is always a hot button topic amongst this fan base, anyways. Um,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, hard to tell you. We aren't saying that you said it was right or wrong. We are just saying, our opinion on it. But, yeah,
and nobody even asked him about it,
yeah,
so he has not addressed it.
yeah. And honestly, Michael, I agree with you. Ian Schieffelin is, the, if not the best player on this team, he is right now the most complete player. The way he rebounds and shoots, and he is like, honestly, he's exactly what every coach, hopes you have that guy on the floor that you can count on to go and get the, dirty balls and stuff like that. Isn't scared to get scuffed up on the floor.
There
And
ain't nobody plays harder than that guy. That's for
yeah,
sure. Nobody plays harder than that guy. Nobody gives more than that guy does because he's probably not nearly the at the if you take all 10 starters every night on the floor, he's going to be at the bottom of the pack when it comes to who's the most athletic of those 10.
oh
If you
yeah,
start ranking them from one, he's going to be down towards the bottom. But
yeah,
man, he is one of the best blue collar workers in the sport, not just on Clemson's team or at least in the ACC. He does all the dirty work. He does all the little things, man. You talked about it, crashing the glass, particularly on the offensive end. Um, Even he missed a couple free throws back to back last night, man.
yeah,
And that's something. Again, it's a team that shoots free throws pretty well, and it kind of started inflicting on all of them at some point. But man, It's hard to imagine where this team would be if Schieffelin would not have been playing at the level he's played all season long. Because
Oh yeah,
he's kind of been the glue that's held the whole thing together.
yes, he has. He isn't. I think the reason he has been able to be that glue is the fact that he, wasn't a 4 or 5 star guy. He wasn't this guy who, came with all the accolades like Hall and Gerard and some of these other guys, Chauncey Wiggins. I think that gives him a respect and a work ethic that not saying these other guys don't have, but it translates to the court in a different way. Honestly, I go back to the Rick Barnes era, and I think a guy that Ian Schieffelin reminds me of is Tom Wyman.
Tom Wideman, I like it. That is a name that I had not heard in a long time until the other day when they had some alumni back, Clemson basketball alumni back the other day, and he was there. And the guy that was sitting beside me, I remember telling him, man, I have not heard that name in a long time. But that is a very apt comparison, man. He just does all the dirty work the same way Wyman used to do the dirty work for those teams back then.
Yeah, exactly. Tom Wyman, Harold Jameson, Terrell McIntyre. You just go down the list, Andre Shakunas.
Greg Buckner.
Yeah, those teams, didn't have the superstars or the elite players, but they were gelled together and played as one. Honestly, I'll never forget let's see, I was a student at the time, and I was standing under the basket, and there used to be a professor that came to all the games. He was a super fan. The huge guy, his name was Lee. He stood under the goal, and he told me, he said, what, Harold Jameson dunked so hard? He said he likes to put his nuts in the other guy's face.
Man, he used to have some thunderous dunks, that's for
sure. Yes,
he was a big boy.
Yes, he was. He was the kind of guy that, if he got the ball in the block, you weren't going to stop him. He was going to rip your arm off and throw it down the basket with the ball.
Man, those were some fun teams to watch that Rick Barnes had there in those 2 or 3 years there. He had them ranked in the top 5, man, and just like that, it was over. He was gone.
Yes, it was. The most exciting game I have ever seen in person was the game when Clemson was ranked number 2 and they hosted number 1 Wake Forest. Yeah. That was an unreal game. I think that Wake Forest team had, let's see who they had. They had Tim Duncan on it. Yeah.
Because Clemson could never get over that Tim Duncan hump.
Yes, sir.
Yep. I remember when he had them ranked second in the country.
Let's see here. Do we have? Well, yeah. Last week, our huge topic of the show was the Nick Saban leaving and retiring. So, everything has calmed down now. And we had, a little scare there where DABO SWINNEY got a phone call from Alabama and he turned it down. And everyone has seen the clips now of DABO, addressing the team and saying he was an Alabama boy and he is a Clemson man now, and this is where he wants to be. So the thing is, do you think that he, let's see, I'm trying to think of the right way to word this. Do you think that Dabo was ever a real candidate for that job? Or was,
100%. I don't think when you if you're Alabama and Nick Saban has abruptly retired and you didn't see it coming, um, I don't think you're wasting time making courtesy calls. You are calling guys that you have at least some interest in, and you're calling them to gauge their interest, and then you go from there. I don't think there was any courtesy calls made. So if he got a call, there was some legit interest, and that's kind of how I view that thing. I don't. You know, they asked all those players to wait 72, give them 72 hours to get a new coach in place. I don't think they were wasting time with courtesy calls. Um, Not that it made a difference because we've seen over 30 players hit the portal since Saban's retirement. But yeah, I don't think you make that call unless you have some legitimate interest.
yeah, and see, here's the thing, yeah. The more I think about it, the more, that you're, excuse me, you're not going to get the full truth from either Sweeney or Alabama, because Alabama, last thing they want is to go, yeah, the reason we hire, Washington's coach, who I am not even going to try to pronounce his last name, yeah, the reason we went with him was because our first, three options, all told us no. We know for a fact that they reached out to Mike Norvell, who FSU then gave a huge extension to and contract raise. They reached out to Steve Sarkisian at Texas. They reached out to DABO, and they also reached out to who's the other?
Dan Lanning.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I think they also at least broached the subject with Kirby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so you're talking, the last thing they want to, have to admit is that, the Alabama Crimson Tide, the gold standard in the SEC, college football's kings, had to, settle for their fifth or sixth choice because no one wanted to come there. I think that Dow, is very wise in how he handled this whole thing. You didn't see him, parlaying this into more money for himself. However, this is not a good look for Alabama, and you have to wonder, you know, how much of their issues in getting a head coach have led to the mass exodus from their program.
Oh, I think it plays a part. I think who they hired plays a part. I also think the era we live in plays a part. But you're right. We're never going to know the order in which some of those guys were called. I also find it interesting. Pretty much all those guys are represented by the same agent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, we're never going to know. But I think we can all. I think it's safe for all of us to make the assumption that they did not get their top choice, and they probably did not get their top two or three choices. Now, what order those first two or three guys came in, we might not ever know that. But Bama's going to sell it as they got their guy. That's who they wanted all along because optics. Optics are everything's about. It's all about optics, and they're always going to sell it that way. Um, and I even think they kind of took a little shot at Dabo. The AD did over there by talking about, like John says here. they didn't want to hire a dinosaur, even though I don't know if you consider somebody still under 50 as a dinosaur, but um, I kind of took it as a shot when he made that comment. But no, I don't think we're ever gonna know who the first, who the number one choice was, and number two choice was, number three choice was. But I do think we know they didn't get those top two or three guys.
Yeah, and also, the look on the, at least, I guess, perception of this, you know, team has to be, there is a lot of upheaval. I mean, you have guys leaving left and right, and these aren't just some backups or, guys that are relegated to second, third team. These are stars who have said, what, we're out. So,
They are losing some of the pieces of the foundation of the future. You Caleb Downs, Caden Proctor, the offensive lineman. Those are two big time youngsters who are transferring out after while they're underclassmen. Those are big foundational pieces that they are losing. Like you said, we're not talking about second, third string guys, man. They are taking a major hit right now, and the timing of this couldn't have been worse because now they're not allowed to go and sign anybody out of the portal. All they can do is watch these guys leave. Nothing they can do in the portal till after the spring.
yeah, exactly. So that is going to hamper, what their coach can do in the spring, with developing and, you implementing his offense and defensive philosophies. This is not a good look. And honestly, I understand where the Alabama fans are going to want to spin this, that they got their guy and they aren't taking a step back. But honestly, if I am a Bama fan and I am not looking through the crimson colored glasses, I am scared to death right now that we are headed back to the Mike Shula days.
Oh, there's a decline coming. The question becomes how long do they stay in that decline, and can the board, get them to the other side of it and get them back even close to where they were under Saban. I mean, Saban's the greatest of all time. I don't think he's ever going to get them back to that level. Can he get them back close to it? Who the heck knows? I wouldn't bet. I wouldn't bet on it. But there's a decline coming. You cannot lose this amount of talent in this short of time frame and not expect some type of decline to come. It's coming. A fall back to earth is coming.
Oh yeah, I saw someone post a quote that said the next coach at Bama have ever in their house.
I saw that same one. I can't remember who said it, but I saw the same tweet, and I thought I was like, "Yep, he's on to something. He's on to something."
Yeah, yeah. John gets in with another huge takeaway is the fact that Mike Reed was not a coach. We have heard from sources saying that he was contacted. However, he has chosen to stay. And so that is great news for the Tigers because you're keeping one of your best defensive coaches, arguably your best recruiter on that side of the ball, outside Nick Eason, and a guy who has just, done a hell of a job in developing talent in that secondary.
Yeah, unless somebody comes and offers Mike Reed a step up, like a defensive coordinator spot or something like that. I'm not too worried about him leaving. I think he's happy where he's at, and he's going to be patient, wait for the right opportunity. I don't see him leaving for a lateral move. He could have done that the last couple of times Georgia came calling, and heck, I think he's even got the title of assistant head coach at Clemson, right? He's got one of them, assistant or associate. Nick Eason's got the other one. You know, maybe when somebody comes calling on him as a defensive coordinator, it's something to worry about. Till then, I wouldn't get too worked up about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is absolutely one of the best position coaches on the staff. Man, he gets the benefit of the doubt with every recruit he targets with me from now on, man, because he's done such a remarkable job of identifying, evaluating, and developing talent. Man, it's hard to find somebody that does it better than he does.
I agree. Let me see here. DJ gets in and says we shall be concerned with Georgia's really there. They have sure enough love. Honestly, Georgia a couple of years ago was scary. However, I think that the Tigers are in a much better spot defensively than they were the last time they played Georgia. And so, not saying they are going to win, but I think that looking ahead to that first game on August 31st, I think it is going to be an absolute dogfight. And Georgia is not going to run Clemson out of the building.
I tend to lean towards agreeing with this one, man. I think what Kirby Smart's building over here at Georgia, I think he's fixing to, he's not far from putting them on a level all by themselves, man. They're kind of handpicking who they want off that Alabama roster right now. If they end up with Caleb Downs and a couple of those other good players from Alabama, go along with that recruiting class and what they're probably going to do in the 2025 class, they might be in it. Once we get a year or two down the road, they might be on a level all by themselves. But on the flip side of that, they're always going to have guys leaving in bigger numbers because there's going to be opportunities are going to be so rare for they got to have so many blue chip talent players. They're not going to all be able to get opportunities as quickly as they want them, so that you might see players leaving there in higher numbers as opposed to some other programs. But man, yeah, they're killing it right now. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, do you see Clemson getting in on these Alabama guys that have left?
Not any that I've seen enter the portal so far. Numbers are tight, man. I mean, Clemson's, if they found the right guy they wanted to target in the portal, right guy or two, they could make them numbers work. There's a little bit of room that they have there that they could use to maneuver around. But it's going to take the right guy. There might be a guy or two on that Alabama roster. If they were to hit the portal, Clemson might reach out to. There's one in particular. I'm not going to say his name, but there's one in particular I kind of been watching even before Nick Saban left. It's a guy Clemson was involved with before he ended up at Alabama. And he's a defensive end, and Clemson's kind of got a void there at defensive end. I would not shut the door completely on Clemson taking an end. I'm just not sure it's going to – I don't – I think it's going to be – obviously can't be right. I think it's going to be after the spring evaluation or after spring practice if they decide to do that. I think they're going to let Chris Rump evaluate what he's got and then kind of go from there. But if the right guy became available, and again, there's one in particular that I've been keeping an eye on, there might be a phone call happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think Indizzy Onside or Clemson could take a guy. I think I have seen comments and questions about is Clemson done on the OL? I think they are, simply because the fact is Clemson wants guys they can develop over 2 or 3 years, and not the guys that are just looking for immediate playing time. I saw you address this on your show Monday, and I commented on that. The thing is, if a guy enters the portal, he's doing it for one of two reasons. First is money, and the second is playing time. He is not going to go to a school where he's getting less money, and he's also not going to a school where he's going to have to sit. A lot of these guys entering the portal are guys that, are already second or third team guys who aren't getting playing time. So they don't want to come to a school like Clemson where they're looking at, a 2 or 3 year development. So,
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. The guys, Clemson, the offensive lineman Clemson we're looking at in the portal a few weeks ago, not a one of them was plug and play. Not a one of them. Maybe one of them could have come in here and won the job, but it definitely was far from a guarantee. And after Clemson added the two late additions at offensive line, right there, before early signing day, to get the kid they flipped from Duke, and then Watson Young, they've got 16 scholarship offensive linemen right now. Um, that's full up. So I don't expect them to take an offensive lineman, or even I doubt they even try to take one from the portal for next year now.
yeah, hard time. I have not received a text, but who are the 24 guys not named TJ Wesco that we see having the biggest impact this season? It's funny you ask that because in today's edition of Death Valley Daily over on the site, Jason and I addressed this question. We are breaking down each of the classes, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, and giving you each our top players that we really will have an impact. So, Jason, who did you say? And honestly, look, for those y'all that have read the story, I need to issue an apology to Jason because I gave him hell in my opening graph. I said that I knew who he was going to go with. And so, I kind of gave him hell for being a Sammy Ryan lover and stuff. But he threw a curveball my way. So, Jason, who are yours?
I actually would have said TJ Moore had you not.
Uh, yeah, well,
But
am I?
since you took the
yeah,
receivers, I went a little bit different route. I'm going with Darian Mayo, the defensive end. Again, going back to defensive ends, Clemson is very short on experience. You've got TJ Parker. Behind him, you've got Cade Denoff, who's got very little experience. And then behind those two guys, there's no experience. I love AJ Hoffler. I think he's got a high ceiling. I think he's going to play a lot next year. But man, there are going to be opportunities for Darian Mayo when he gets here in the summer. He's not an early enrollee, so that's a little bit of a knock against him. But I do know they have got a very detailed plan in place for him over the offseason, from conditioning wise, Zoom calls, those kinds of things, to keep him up to speed with what he needs to know so he can hit the ground running when he gets here in the summer. 6'7", 260 pounds, 65 pounds, something like that at this moment. Talking about a guy that unofficially had like 18 and a half sacks last year. And Clemson needs that type of pass rusher. And I think he's going to have an opportunity at some early snaps. And if he does, I think he's going to take full advantage of it.
yeah, and so, thing is, if y'all read the story, I actually took TJ and Esco as my impact players because, like Dabo has said, these are plug and play guys. These are guys that can stretch the field. They, pose matchup issues for opposing defenses. And so, I see Wesco and Moore coming in and seeing the field immediately. I think they are dynamic playmakers. And they are guys that are going to almost demand to see the field because they're so talented.
I think TJ Moore is exactly what Clemson's been missing out on the boundary. Both those guys are going to bring some explosiveness that has been sorely lacking back to this offense. And TJ Moore's, he's like Mayo, he's not an early enrollee either, but he's already 6'3", 195. He's going to be physically ready. And we've seen in each of the past 2 years a wide receiver that did not enroll early come in and have an immediate impact. Antonio Williams in 2022, Tyler Brown in 2023. Go ahead and pencil in TJ Moore to do it in 2024.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Tigers have missed, the Mike Williams or T. Higgins guy. They can go up and it's just a game changer when it comes to the 50-50 balls. And so, I think that more especially, I think Wesco coming in the spring is going to be very good for him and give him a head start. But those are two guys that DABO Swing has even said he expects to come and play early and play a lot.
100% agree. I think it's going to be greatly beneficial for Wesco to get here or be here already. Talking about a guy that probably needs a little bit of bulk before the season starts. So he'll already be, in the strength and conditioning program for the entire offseason. I think that's going to benefit him big time.
Yeah. And, you have heard DABO, mention just the importance of the spring for some of these freshmen, just getting into the college atmosphere and, practices in the spring are generally, every other day to where, they kind of are able to acclimate a little bit slower than they are in the fall. So I think all of that stuff combined, not to mention the extra rest that he's going to get, with Klubnik and Vizina, I think it will prove very beneficial.
Oh, big time! It's always much better to be an early enrollee than not. Everything's packed into a short amount of time when you get there in the summer. You can drag it kind of, those 15 practices or whatever in the spring, man, they're so crucial for some of these guys. Like you said, it gives some of them a leg up on other guys at their position, and Clemson's got to be ecstatic that Wesco's coming in early because, both those guys, Wesco and Moore, you talked about it, they're dynamic. They've got elite level speed. I've been asked multiple times who's the faster. I don't think it matters, man. They both can motor. They got elite level speed. And they're going to bring an added element to this offense that it has been missing sorely for each of the past 3 seasons.
Well, I also mentioned the fact that, something that has been missing for this offense, we have talked about it at the quarterback position, someone to push Klubnik. I think that the receivers will benefit from having these guys come in and challenge immediately. Guy like Adam Randall,
Oh yeah.
who, I mean, he is going to find out real quick that if he can't produce at the level that's expected, he's going to find his playing time cut short. And also Antonio Williams. I mean, these are guys that have, been staples of this offense that are going to get challenged for really the first time since they arrived.
Yeah, this doesn't do anything but help the room. Competition brings out the best in everybody, and bringing having these two guys come on board is it's going to elevate the level of play for everybody around.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you look at this wide receiver room with Wesco and Moore and Williams, and then you add Tyler Brown, Cole Turner, you add Adam Randall. This has the there is no excuse anymore for Tyler Grisham's group to not have an elite year. I mean,
Yeah,
this is his make or break year in my eyes.
yeah. I've been of the opinion the receivers probably caught a little more flack than they earned this year, but Clemson's fixing to get something again. I've said it a couple times that they've not had that dynamic playmaker out on the outside like a Mike Williams or a T Higgins. Bo Collins just ain't that. He's not a true boundary guy. He would probably flourish more as a secondary guy playing second fiddle to a true boundary guy like Mike Williams or T Higgins. And I think getting Wesco and Moore in here is just gonna make guys like Adam Randall better, make guys like Antonio Williams better. I think that wide receiver room is going to be as good as it's been in a few years next year. For me, the thing is, they got to find a way to stay healthy. That's been one of the biggest things with that wide receiver room in the past few years is trying to stay away from and avoid that injury bug.
Yeah. And you also need a QB who can throw the ball too.
Or at least sees you when you're open.
Yeah. Yeah, sir. John gets in last comment of the night. He's expecting Star to go to the next level in 2024. Yeah, that is a guy that made some huge plays for the Tigers this year. And really, yeah.
And did it without having a spring or fall. He was hurt all fall camp, hurt all spring. He just kind of came on. Now he's going to have the benefit of having an entire offseason. He's not had that since he's been there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I think him and Jake Rain still are going to have huge years for the Tigers as well as these wide receivers. Did get a text about David Zahn, asking is he going to get some run this year or is he going to need some time? I think that Schieffelin leaving means that you are going to see E out there on the field.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, he's an early enrollee. He's already there. I think he's a guy that also brings something to the running back room that's been missing the past couple years. Because as good as Shipley and Maffa are, they don't have that extra gear to hit that, to be that home run threat every time they touch the ball. Jama May gives you that. Jay Haynes gives you that too. A lot. How much he actually plays will probably depend on him. But I think he's going to have the opportunity. That there's a spot open behind Maffa. Who's going to reach out and grab it? A lot of it'll depend on where he is with his pass protection and learning the playbook and those things. But man, if he can get those things down, he's your running back too next year. I mean, it's hard for a running back to do that as a freshman sometimes, but it can be done. And if he can do it, he's probably your backup. And Haynes is your change of pace guy.
Mm. Yeah, well, honestly, that all that talk about the talent on offense leads me to believe that this Tiger team is poised for a huge comeback this year and a return to the playoff, whether it is as the ACC's representative or just a large bit. The Tigers are certainly something to be excited about in the offensive room.
Yeah, I agree. I think they did a remarkable job in this 2024 class of trying to or addressing the skill spots. We've talked about the wide receivers. We talked a little bit about Ajamame, but even look at the tight end they signed in Christian Betancourt. Um, you know, he's not a guy I would expect to play a lot as a freshman. It's a lot to learn, playing that position, and he's not an early enrollee. Man, he's dynamic. He's going to be really good. He's a guy that's going to be able to stretch the field. Another big target, not quite as tall as Jake Brenningstool, but he's 6'5". Maybe he might be 6'6". But I thought they did a fantastic job of trying to kind of revamp some of those skill spots and bring some more explosiveness back to that offense.
Absolutely. As always, as we wrap up the show, I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell so that you never miss a show. Yeah. Jason, I'll give you the last word. Is there anything that you want to say as we close out the show?
It's supper time, folks. It is supper time. Late dinner at the Priester household tonight.
Yes,
I don't know if you
sir.
heard, I don't know if you heard the door open just now, but that was the wife coming in saying, "Where you at?"
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back live with you next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Jason will be with you Monday night at 7. So we'll see y'all then. Have a wonderful evening and go Tigers.